Nelson Ledges. James is about to kick us off into our first road course session. We were able to move up a good bit, so we're starting at the beginning of pack number 2, which will be very helpful. We expect the car to be pretty quick, especially on the road courses. We're glad to be past skid pad and autocross and more into our natural habitat. As we mentioned before, get to do 3 laps twice a day at the road courses. They're going to do a quick warm-up lap, and then they're all going to stop on the start-finish. The first timed lap begins from a stop, and then 2 flying laps after that. All 3 count.
just out of the car from our first road course event at Nelson Ledges. So I drove this track back in, I think 1997, 96, something like that. One of the first tracks I learned to drive on, learned to race on. And actually, Cindy Wing, one of my instructors from back then, is on our car right now for the Racing to End Alzheimer's. So thank you for that. Certainly that brings back memories. But you know, what an amazing track. It's been upgraded, new surface, same bathrooms, but it's an awesome track. It's, you know, it's one of these road courses that they just don't make anymore, and it's a little sketchy, and I just love that. So we went out, second group. I think we did pretty well. I have no idea. We haven't quite mastered how to look at times. What we have mastered is how to unload the car, lower the ride height, and get ready for a session while doing a track walk, all within a 30 to 45 minute period. So that's what's serving us well. Getting out there early served us well as well. We're starting to see a little moisture, and I think it's going to rain, which is going to be awesome if it rains around noon or so, or you know, starts now and continues. That's where these Continentals are really going to be awesome. They were good out there this morning in the dry, but we know from that wet skid pad, their wet weather performance is just out of this world. So looking forward to whatever the afternoon brings here at Nelson Ledges.
left Nelson Ledges. We're currently getting our way down towards Road Atlanta. We're enjoying some hydrodynamic demonstrations for the cars behind us, who are just hating the water coming off this GT Moore wing.
I think we're sending a plume, and we're driving 60 miles an hour now. This arrow working 60, you bet. We're shooting a tail up when we hit any level of water that's about 20 feet in the air. The car behind us has had their wipers on constant.
Yeah, they have their wipers on nonstop, and it's not raining. Good stuff. Proof it works in action.
Well, it's day 2, and we are in the middle of a 700-mile transit from Nelson Ledges to Road Atlanta. So we're back on Interstate 77, which is one that we know so well because it goes down very near the shop. Fortunately, we're not needing to stop by the shop. Everything's going super well in the BimmerWorld GT Moore car. We are admitting a stop for one of our fellow competitors that's looking for a couple of pieces, but you know, hopefully they'll get back on the road. The long transit this is our first one, but it's a grind. So we're now just starting to get kind of into the swing of events, understand how this whole thing works. Just finished up with Nelson and didn't have an opportunity to do any updates earlier, just because it is a scramble. So it was dry this morning, and this morning was important because it was the track session that seeded us for essentially our qualifying for all the sessions for the remainder of the week. So do well, then we get to put ourselves further forward in a run group, and that helps us not run into traffic, get clean laps, run with cars that are similar speed, and so forth. So it was nice that it was a clean run. It was a dry track, and then the weather moved in, so it was lightly wet, enough to be using windshield wipers for sure, but super variable. So we ran fairly early based on qualified this morning. We were 12th overall, and the rain was coming a little bit, and it dried off a little bit, which some of our competition I think may have benefited from that, but who knows? It's so variable out here, and I think one thing we're understanding is we've got a group of automotive enthusiasts that aren't just automotive enthusiasts. These are drivers. These cars are getting wilder and wilder. I last did this in 2008, and a lot has changed since then. We were, I think, 9th overall in our 135i that had power suspension, all the normal BMW things, not to the level that we do that stuff now, but a pretty potent car, and the cars now are really potent. Lots of tire engineers, tire test drivers, motor, production test drivers for Tesla, for GM, for everybody's out here. It's getting pretty pointy, which kind of is something I've seen on a lot of automotive events recently. So that's pretty cool. So far, I've done the driving duties on track. Evan Levine doing some transit driving right now, which is awesome. But I'll need to take over that here in a little bit as he kind of rests up and is getting ready to do a couple of tracks that he knows well or will do well in. Road Atlanta, great local track for us and great track for our car. Big power, long straights, and then Nashville Roval course, which again should play to a strength of the car with lots of power, good grip, lots of transitions on that. I think we'll do well. But we've done pretty well so far, and it's kind of, it's always interesting running a BMW because BMWs are not drag strip kings necessarily. They're not the best handling cars, certainly not as much as a purpose-built sports car. They're just really good at everything, and that's what we're kind of seeing right now. In the last few events, we've been pretty good, but oddly, we're in the overall standings. Now we're 5th overall, which is kind of wild. Tied for 4th, but with a little bit more elapsed time. So the way the system works is you get points for finishing position, points for cars that you beat, and then tiebreakers go to your total elapsed time during the green flag of all the combined events. So we're just like 2 seconds total elapsed time out of 4th, but the dynamic's interesting. So I mean, I think it's going to be changing as we start now going to these road courses. But you know, Evan, if you're not too busy while you drive,
yeah, no, not a problem. No, I think it's been really interesting. You know, we started with the wet skid pad and then the autocross yesterday, and then today James took us around Nelson Ledges for two sessions, and actually both of those sessions today count as separate events that are scored. But so, you know, we've been 5th, 23rd in the autocross, and then 12th twice today. And I think, you know, James and I are competitive people. You know, we first look at that, we're like, like, is this not going as well as we thought? And then we saw the results came in a couple hours ago. We're like, well, heck, we're in 1st in class and 5th overall. And to James's point, that's what's happening. Is this is sort of averaging out to this car has actually done pretty well at everything, and that's going to count for a lot. I think a lot of the cars that were maybe good on the skid pad, a lot of cars that were good in the autocross, they may not be the road course guys. And so we have Road Atlanta tomorrow. We have National Super Speedway the next day. Then we go to Eagles Canyon. There's a drag race in there. Then we go to Hallett and NCM. So a lot of road course stuff coming up, which, you know, I hope James and I are both going to excel at. I think this car is going to be good at. So definitely we're going to see some people moving up and down the leaderboard. So I think the theme of this event for me today is sort of still figuring out how this all works. You know, James hasn't done it in 15 years. I've never done one lap of America. And so, you know, I think we had some preconceived ideas of what this was going to be like, and it's a little different than I thought it would be. I think in a really good way. The competition is really stout. The drivers are good. There's a lot of hardware out here. And so to some degree, you know, that makes it more challenging, but it also, it's making it feel like a heck of a competition, which is really what we're here for. So yeah, I'm really excited to get in the car at Road Atlanta tomorrow and do some more competitive driving. Although, you know, the transfers are actually very interesting as well. I think we chose a car, BimmerWorld built a car that's a bit more track oriented than you might expect for this, but it's not as bad. I should say we're only 4 hours into the first really long transfer, but we're in good spirits. The car's not as bad on the road as I expected. You know, some of these roads are terrible. I think any car would have been bad. The exhaust is a little loud, but it's not unbearable, and we have a radio. We're able to make phone calls and check in with friends and family and so on. The seats are honestly fairly comfortable so far. We did 5 hours last night. We're 4 in today. Nobody seems to be suffering. We don't have cruise control. That would have been a big win. That might be my biggest issue right now, is just wishing for cruise control. But overall, it's a really fun event. I see why people do this. Looking forward to getting this car on track.
So we're kind of dialing in the cadence for these transits. This is the first long one. You know, it starts to become important to figure out what you're going to do with fuel stops, driver swaps, bathroom breaks, food breaks, all the things to make these long trips. By the way, after we spent all morning at the tracks, wake up at 6 a.m. or just before, scramble, unload the car, do the track thing, reload the car, raise the ride height in the front, get that splitter up, get the toe at the right setting that's going to be good for tire wear. It's a lot of stuff. It's a lot going on. Yesterday we had this 5-hour transit, super nice, and we sat down in a place in Indiana and had a fantastic steak dinner, and I don't think that's in our future for today. So
not tonight. James was mentioning qualifying earlier, in talking about how it puts you in a run group with like cars and similar paces and so on. Another thing that we didn't mention that's extremely important is that determines the order in which you run these events. You can leave when you're finished. And so, you know, there's 85 cars in this event. We're going to be running around 12 for the rest of the event, assuming all goes well. You know, that could mean we're getting out of there, and an hour and a half, 2 hours, 2.5 hours earlier than cars at certain points. So that was actually a really key moment in this event for us. On a 5-hour transfer, you stop and get a steak dinner. Tonight, we're looking at getting in around midnight. That sounds a lot better to me than 2 a.m. So disqualifying in 12th, being in probably the third run group each day is big. I think that's going to help us a lot for the next few days.
So we'll see how we feel a little bit later this evening, but this is just the old roads that we're used to here. Just a standard drive through West Virginia right now, and spirits are high, car's working well, the trip is awesome. We'll go into more details on all the technical bits and the stuff we're working on the car. What a day is. Some of this unpack logistics, the things that we're going to be working on, as we get a little sharper on where we're actually settling out and where we might want to be. And with a couple of these big power tracks, we might add some things like finding 110 octane fuel and putting that extra couple hundred horsepower that we had kind of tucked away, maybe dropping that in for some of these events. So we'll see. There's a lot going on, but it feels like we're actually starting to get on top of it. So more later. Thanks for following along. Facebook, YouTube, BimmerWorld, Instagram, @BimmerWorld.